Craigleith Heritage Depot presents a new digital exhibit. About our community. And our military heritage. Capturing family history. Capturing history for the future. Our Military Heritage. Exhibit launch September 19th.
We're going to start today in an unusual way. We usually start such a presentation today with O Canada, and I know we all are fantastic singers, but today in this COVID-19 world, I want you to all, if you would like, to stand, and we're going to speak O Canada to ourselves softly, softly, softly. Or we could speak moistly, 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 if we wish as well. I'm old school, so I always remember the old words to Canada, so I have them here. But I'm going to speak them, and I hope you can join me as well, because we're really celebrating what our nation's done and what our community's done. So together it's O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you. All right, so you can be seated now. I'm really pleased to see such a great outpouring today, and I know a lot of our registered visitors today did call in to say they wouldn't come because they wanted to be safe, and we were sad for that, but at the same time, I want to share with you, today's proceedings are being filmed, and we're going to present that on our website. So when you tell your friends and family about this event, they can see what they missed today. Right now, I'd like to call upon Dr. Sabrina Saunders, who is the CEO of the Blue Mountain Public Library, and let's give her a big warm welcome, and she's going to introduce our dignitaries today.
So good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. Just a few words. We do know that there have been some announcements today from our provincial government trying to keep everyone safe and healthy. This is what we interpret to be a staffed event, which is not the open house parties that I know our province is really trying to keep everyone away from doing. So thank you for coming out, being safe, being healthy, keep washing hands, sanitizing, and we will all be able to have a fantastic event today. So on behalf of our Blue Mountain Public Library, I wanted to thank the staff, first of all, from the Craigleith Heritage Depot, who have done fantastic work both getting this event together in a time of COVID, but also doing the work to protect our history for future generations. And as you're going through the event today, you're going to see militias dating back to really the early days of our community up to current. And we look forward to seeing this being a living, active program that will continue to grow as we get more history, hopefully history from some of you here today. So with us, we have several dignitaries that's my honor to invite up to our mic to give some addresses to us. And we're going to start first with our Mayor, Alar Soever.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. The town of the Blue Mountains has a long and proud military history from the earliest days of Grey County, when scattered companies of volunteers were raised from time to time to deal with imagined or real threats of minor disturbances, and to assist the British regulars in the defense of the country in such instances as the Fenian raids from the United States. Better organization was given to these scattered companies by the formation of the 31st Regiment in 1866. The first military unit right here in the Beaver Valley was the number 7 Company, which was organized in 1868. The first major participation of soldiers from Grey in warfare came with World War I, and men were recruited by the 31st Regiment and sent forward in drafts of up to 100 men to join various battalions, and Collingwood Township was very well represented in most of these groups. In late 1915, the 147th Battalion from Grey County was formed, with many men from Collingwood Township in its ranks. And in 1916, the 248th Battalion was formed under the command of Hilliard Rourke of Thornbury, and he's one of the people you see featured in this new exhibit. Many of these men served with distinction in France, and many lost their lives in Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele, Amiens, Mons, and other battlefields. Of the men from Collingwood Township and Thornbury, 16 from Collingwood Township and 7 from Thornbury were killed in the war. At the outbreak of World War II, the Grey and Simcoe Foresters was formed, and by June of 1940, the regiment consisted of 24 officers and 936 other ranks. So you can see that quite a few people were involved and stepped up to serve. The unit was converted to an armored division, and in 1943 the ranks were broken up and the men served in many of the other units of the Canadian Armored Corps. Currently, the Grey and Simcoe Foresters are our reserve unit based in Owen Sound and Barrie. And I hope you enjoy the exhibit. It contains the personal stories of just a few of the many people in our community who stepped up to serve our country. It is an important way to honor and preserve the memory of those that served so proudly in our forces. And I'd just like to thank the library, Craigleith Heritage Depot, and all the other people that were involved in putting this together. Our history is important to us. We're a quickly growing community, and many of the new people that come here may not be aware of where we come from and our heritage. And by preserving our heritage in this manner, I know they're very interested. They ask me questions all the time about, what happened here, what happened there. And so I think these kind of undertakings are very important for our community and to retain its character. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I want to thank everybody involved in putting this together. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to ask carefully to walk from table 13, our Grey County Warden, Paul McQueen.
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to be part of your event today. I'm proud to be here on behalf of Grey County Council to honor the memories of our local men and women from the Blue Mountains. Military conflicts and peacekeeping efforts have had a lasting impact on Grey County, and especially on the families of our local units. The stories told in our military history will serve as a lasting reminder of the brave men and women who fought and continue to fight to keep our nation and others safe. Thank you for the Craigleith Heritage Depot and the Royal Canadian Legion 281 for working together to create this meaningful exhibit and putting it online so everyone can enjoy it. This is a wonderful opportunity for community members to share their important stories and to ensure that we do not forget those who gave so much in their efforts to support freedom and peace around the world. On behalf of Grey County, I extend my sincere thanks to the men and women from Blue Mountain and to the veterans across the county and their families. as a personal note, I am a part of the Legion, which is part of the Flesherton branch. My grandfather, he fought in the First World War and was wounded, and fortunately for myself, he came back, or I wouldn't be here. And he also then, at the Second World War, he was an older gentleman at the time, but he still continued to serve his country as a Veterans Guard. And then after that, he continued to be a Legion member. And he was part, I think, of the 177th Battalion, which was Grey and Collingwood, which was based out of Collingwood at the time, because he did live in Grey County, but that was where he was, and then trained, I think, in Borden at that time. So again, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for being here today, and I'm certainly quite proud to be here as part of this. I have, a family feeling of being part of what we have is what we call freedom. Freedom is very important, that we are here to certainly to share and to go back and reflect on that, because many men and women gave their lives and continue to work hard for the freedom that we have, continue to hold in this country. So that's one of the best things that we have, and we can call Canada, is we are, I think it says it in the O Canada is the land of the free, or something along that way. So anyway, thank you again, and enjoy the day, and it's going to be nice. The weather's going to be good. So there you go. That's what happens when you're around the farm. You don't have to wear a mask. So
Next up we'll have, sorry for those that didn't hear me there, next up we'll have Simcoe Grey's MPP, Jim Wilson.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting us today and celebrating our heritage and the brave men and women that, as the warden said, brought us our freedom and our democratic way of life. We can never thank them enough, and so a great big thank you to the volunteers at the library and the Heritage Depot and the Legion here for preserving our history and bringing it in a modern format to digitize it and make sure that people beyond museum walls and beyond the library walls can see this in their homes and their offices and their schools, and a living legacy to honor our veterans. I'll just mention that at Queen's Park this week we passed legislation to expand the Soldiers' Aid Commission, and probably a lot of people don't know what the Soldiers' Aid Commission is, but it's been around for 100 years. It was originally established to serve the veterans of the First World War, and it's to help veterans that other government programs miss for hearing aids, accessibility items, making your home accessible, even counseling now for PTSD, private counseling, financial aid for other medical devices and that, as I said, might not be available for other programs. So the government added $1.5 million to the fund. That was only $200,000 before, so a lot of people couldn't access it. And it was more recently, 40 years ago, expanded for veterans of the Second World War in Korea, and this week is expanded for all veterans. And we should know that about 39,000 members of the armed forces retire each year in Ontario alone. They are considered veterans. And of course, we have veterans of my generation that served in Afghanistan and many other conflicts throughout the world that we don't talk about. I used to work for our local MP here, the Honourable Perrin Beatty at National Defence, and I was surprised every morning, even back in the early 80s, we would wake up and there'd be at least 70 or 80 conflicts that he would be briefed on worldwide, and that was before Afghanistan and that. So we really do rely on our armed forces and really do need to thank our veterans each and every day for their sacrifices, because it's not just the big wars and the stuff that we celebrate in history day and out, but it's not a peaceful world, but it is for us and for our children and our grandchildren, hopefully forever, because of the sacrifices they make day in and day out. And we know that in this riding more than ever, because we're the largest training base in Canada now, and I know Terry and I are very, very proud to represent Canadian Forces Base Borden. They do an excellent job, and every time you see an Army truck on the road or whatever, beep at them, not because they're going too slow, but because they deserve your respect and your gratitude, and I know we all want to pass that on day after day. So thank you again for this ongoing piece of history here. I know it's going to be really, really appreciated. Thank you.
And then our next speaker is going to be our Simcoe Grey MP, Terry Dowdle. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today. Today I am the MP for Grey Simcoe. So just so you know, you guys always seem to feel like you're left out. So it is fantastic to be here. MP P. Wilson, Mayor, so ever members of council, and Warden McQueen, it is just an honor to be here today. And if we could just take a moment, I think we often speak about our military. I'm sure we have some here today, either presently or past. If they could just stand for a second so that we could recognize those individuals here today. Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here. I can, as Jim has said earlier, we are so honored to have the military in our region, in our riding here. I sit on the committee. I'm on National Defense Committee. I'm one of 4 from my party that gets to sit on that committee. And I know that what we need to do is to make sure that we take care of those veterans. We take care of all of them, past, present, and future. And we have to make sure that we get them the right tools and the right equipment. Now, we are all fortunate that we live in a democratic society, and I think for that part, sometimes we don't understand or give the thanks that we should. We have 2 days. We have Peacekeepers Day. We have Remembrance Day. But really, every single day you see somebody in uniform, give them the chance and say thank you, because we're so fortunate here in Canada. And I want to thank the Legion 281. I know the Legions are having a tough time now. We're hearing it, Jim, I'm sure, in his office as well. And they are a key part of every community. They do all the community outreach and are there for the veterans and for their families. So we are trying, and we're going to continue to try to push to make sure that these Legions stay alive and important in all these small communities. So we will be there for you. I want to thank the library for their commitment here today, and the town of Blue Mountains, who's done a fantastic job in bringing these events to light. So I have a certificate here to thank the different members. I don't know if someone wants to come up and receive it. That would be nice. Andrea, I don't know if you want to come up, or it would be nice. So this is greetings from your Member of Parliament in celebration of the digitized online museum exhibit, Our Military Heritage, commemorating the contributions of men and women from the Blue Mountains who gave of themselves to ensure freedom and peace around the world. This exhibit is a milestone initiative worth remembrance, honor, and preservation. Truly an exceptional example of collaborative efforts of community and Government of Canada partners, Craigleith Heritage Depot, Royal Canadian Legion Branch 281, Blue Mountain Public Library, and Veterans Affairs Canada, and that's signed by me on behalf of the Government of Canada. So thank you very much, and let's make sure we never forget all the things that you do here in the community and all the things that our veterans have done throughout the years to make sure, like Jim said, that we live the lifestyle that we have, and let's make sure we continue to have that lifestyle. Thank you.
So much.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce our host and partner of this event from the Legion here at 281, Sean McKinley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending. It's so far so good. Boy, I tell you, that's with the previous speakers, you guys are pretty tough to follow up, so pretty much ditto for all that they said. But no, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for attending, and definitely the Craigleith Heritage Depot. They have put so much work into this project. It's astounding. It's wonderful, and we're proud to partner up and be there for them, and of course be there for our veterans. And I'm going to give the quick shout out to the Canadian Veteran Freedom Riders that have joined us today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your service. That's the main thing. That's the biggest part. So, without further ado, I will leave you with Honorable Lieutenant Colonel Jones.
On behalf of your regiment, the Grey Simcoe Foresters, I am the Honorary Lieutenant Colonel for our regiment. What impresses me today is the amount of people in your community that have come out to continue to support the veterans. But what I also want to share with you is the work that's happening within the regiment and the notoriety that our young men and women from this region have formed across the country. Op Laser was the most recent thing this summer. They were given excellent reviews on the way we conducted ourselves and the work that we did with regards to Op Laser. Your regiment also does a lot of work in the Arctic. Our group has done exceptional work in preparing for defending the Arctic and providing support in the Arctic. Those are the things that your men and women are doing within our community. And what impresses me most here is that you've brought together community from our freedom riders from the past and recognizing those that are currently involved with regards to the regiment. I love the comment, honk when you see one of our trucks, not because they're going slow, but because they're doing work on behalf of yourselves. This project that has gone out is exceptional because it allows people from outside of these borders to really get a sense of what's happening within this community. My family, Empire Loyalists, have fought in all the wars, and we are a military family based out of Truro, Nova Scotia. And it's really important that we can communicate the work that's happening here with the work that's happening across the country. Sam Steele was an important part here. He worked in the Clarksburg store originally. And Sam Steele is an integral part in the Grain Simple Foresters, and of course, he has went on to do a variety of other things within the Canadian military and other parts of the RCMP. So again, congratulations for the work that has been done here, the ongoing work that you're doing in terms of the Legion and the library and history and bringing the communities together. So on behalf of the Foresters, thank you, a deep thank you for all that you do and the support that you have for the men and women of this region involved with the regiment. Very good.
Well, thank you for those remarkable words of welcome and connection, and thank you for being here today. Now, I want to share with everyone, we did register tables here, but if anybody wants to move up a little closer, feel free, because I don't think those two tables will be filled, so feel free to do that. And I'm going to give a brief overview of the project that we've been working on. And it's huge, so I can't share with you every single person. I'm going to give you a really general overview, and then we're going to break, and you're going to be able to go through the Legion and see their exhibits, and also visit the online exhibit as well. And I'll call it table by table, because we, again, want to be very cognizant of keeping ourselves safe. So, very, very much we appreciate you coming today to help us launch this exhibit. It is a virtual place where we honor and remember those who gave the highest public service and provided for freedom and peace. And we built this exhibit so that together we can share, learn, and understand. And our focus is on the geographic area that was the township of Collingwood, and it's now called the Town of the Blue Mountains. So this exhibit reflects the military heritage of all those who had the opportunity to live in this remarkable place, from the past all the way up to today. And I can only give you the tiniest sampling, which is really hard for me, because there's some remarkable stories in here. From the diaries of a POW after the Dieppe raid, who is Tom Taylor, to the training logs of pilot Bruce Pinch, who was involved in the Burma campaign, to the experiences of two nursing sisters in World War I, who were also cousins, and one of their brothers was also a physician during the war, and they all served at the same field hospital. You will find family connections such as the Pinch, Kentner, Frost, and Fields families who, through generations of service, military service, connected and were involved in both world wars. So the Craigleith Heritage Depot is pleased to launch here with the Legion to share this resource with you. And it was created with the support of Veterans Affairs Canada, who gave us funding to actually digitize the material. But that's really the one part of this whole project. But they helped us to do the documents, images, and media that are part of our military heritage. We'd also like to thank our partner, Canadian Legion Branch 281, for hosting us today and adding their resources to this exhibit and helping us share this information with the community. A thank you to the town of the Blue Mountains for providing us this venue today, which without that we wouldn't be able to be seated so nicely outside in a very safe and healthy environment. And in addition, we'd really like to thank our partners, Mountain Goat Film Company, who provided all of the digital materials here, the big screens, and without their support, we couldn't have brought this to you today. So can you give a big hand of applause to all of these people? And we'd also like to thank members of our board who are here today, our staff, our volunteers, along with a lot of community members who worked really hard on this project. And they will make sure that this resource grows and provide a modern platform to preserve the stories of the men and women who made a change in our world and our community. This resource is here for families, students, friends, neighbors, researchers, and visitors of all kinds. The online exhibit has already been visited from around the world, from the Middle East, across Canada, throughout North America. And we know that there's a continued interest in our stories because it connects to freedom around the world, not just at home. It also reminds us that when we move from our community, there is a connection that continues to stick. Just like the first contingent of the Canadian Expeditionary Force seen here, gathering in August 1914 at Valcartier Camp, the museum has created this exhibit as a gathering place to share, connect, and remember the individuals, organizations, and experiences that make up our military heritage. This project is an ongoing one as we learn and discover new resources, and it's a gathering of history through documents, images, stories, and media, and it's as rich as those who have shared with us this information. Our team has been working behind the scenes of this project, building connections, teasing out bits of information and following leads. We really love mysteries, I think. But we've been assisted by volunteer researchers from our community and across Canada. And one example was following up on the Carmichael family. They grew up where the Orchard Ski Run is at Blue Mountain today, and a cousin, Mary Curry, who lived in Craigleith, and 3 Carmichael siblings volunteered to serve in World War I. Mary and Rachel were nursing sisters posted in France, and Rachel's brother John enlisted with them as a physician, and all 3 went overseas together from Queen's University, serving at the same field hospital. Rachel's other brother, Dugald, who is seen in the picture sitting next to Rachel, was a lieutenant colonel who distinguished himself in battle and upon returning to civilian life was elected to the Ontario legislature as a minister without portfolio. Sadly, though, the young fellow in the upper right corner did not return, and he's buried in Aubigny Cemetery in France. To fill out this story, we were able to connect with family members in BC who confirmed details and provided images for our project. And they're now considered part of our museum family. And one researcher, not related, we connected with because we asked him we put out a call, can somebody photograph Mary Curry's tombstone, which is in Vancouver? And 500 people said, I can do it. And I chose one. And wouldn't you know it, I chose a man named Mark Harrison. And he's like, what's this all about? And I told him, and he said, well, you know, my family's from your community. He grew up here. All of his family's from here. And he ended up being one of our, and still continues to be a great researcher for us. So it's just one example of many who have helped us to create this resource for the entire community. And it just shows just how far our stories go and this information travels. So the exhibit itself is broken into 5 parts at this time, but we're expecting this to grow. And even today, I've talked to a few people who said, oh, I have information. So we know that this is going to grow. I know we're going to be adding the Korean War to this because we have community members who are involved in that. And as I said before, this summer we focused on just the digitization of the materials, and now we have to get to the uploading. And this does take a lot of time. So we're sourcing, we're researching, we're writing, we're uploading, and we're managing the amount of information that's been coming in. So as it grows, you'll just see more and more happening on this site. So it's not going to be very static. And we're working with what people have shared. So we've digitized the museum collection. But the museum collection is our community memory. And it's here for everyone to share that memory and have a place for reflection and gathering. The work of Bill Shannon's team in writing the Illustrated History of Collingwood noted that it's impossible to determine the total number of men who enlisted from Collingwood Township because many men of British origin returned home to join units there, and others joined units that might have a personal connection. Examples would be joining Floyd Hugel, joining the Black Watch Regiment, or Eliza Bailey joining the Postal Regiment. And I can't remember who the other fellow was, but we have somebody who joined the Cyclist Battalion. So we will attempt to, with our attempt to exhibit and document as many as possible, we're constantly adding to the list. And it does take some time to upload and develop, so if you don't see somebody you think should be there, we want to know what you know. And we may have those people that haven't just been uploaded yet, because in the last 2 weeks, as we've been getting this information out, it's been amazing what's been coming forward. Our military heritage begins with the development of a volunteer militia created when threats such as the Trent Affair and, as was mentioned, the Fenian raids made our community consider the need for defense. So locals here gathered together, and also in communities outside of here. And for example, William Darley Pollard, owner of the Shale Oil Works in Craigleith, joined the Collingwood militia unit. And Joseph Rourke, who was also joined the militia, joined over towards Owen Sound. And they decided, no, we needed to have a company here. So they created Number 7 Company here in Clarksburg. And it was the Rourkes, Joseph and Edward, who developed the militia, along with Edward's friend, which we've heard about before, Sam Steele, and Mr. Turnbull, who was also another Clarksburg storekeeper. So this dynamic group purchased a drill ground and eventually built an armories. And it established a core militia unit within our community. And generations of families, such as the Rourkes, served from these early beginnings. And many of the Rourkes and Sam Steele joined the Boer War. So the 19th century really laid the groundwork for the challenges of the 20th century. But the community was not separate from military heritage, as the drill grounds and armories were funded locally. Individuals involved were municipal leaders, business owners, farmers, family members, and neighbors. And financial support came from organizations, groups, individuals, and all levels of government. The individuals involved in the military were honored by the community for their efforts. So this image shows the drill shed before it was renovated by the federal government with a brand new facade. It also shows that this property was used for the fall fair and fairgrounds. In the 20th century, we had our first major event, and it was an event in everyone's lives. Men like Alfred Frost and Roy Buchanan, and women like Rachel Carmichael and Mary Curry volunteered for service. And it was a huge undertaking for Canada, as we did not really have a military organization outside of our local militias. But in very short order, Canada stepped up. Our country was able to recruit, fund, train, outfit our military, and send them overseas to serve. And our community immediately responded. And Harvey Matthews of Clarksburg was one of the very first to enlist and went overseas in 1914, serving with distinction with the 48th Highlanders. By the end of 1915, recruitment changed, and the 147th Battalion Grey County was raised by the 31st Regiment. J. Hilliard Rourke of Thornbury, who we've heard about before, recruited and took command of the 248th Battalion and brought them over to England. All these groups were absorbed into military companies as needed at the front. But just a note, Alfred, the young fellow in this photo, he looks very young, perhaps a little too young. He was a British home child who came here to live with the Pinch and Field families, and Alfred was made to feel such a part of this community. During his time at the front, the families handled all of his financial needs, and Alfred was made to feel a part of the community. During a time of illness at the front, he was sent to a British field hospital where, I think to his delight, he reunited with his sister. And she was a nursing sister, and she told on him because he was underage. But he was able to return back to his position at the front, and he was demobilized after the war, and his family still continues to live here. And they couldn't be here today, but this was a great story for them to have a connection to. So the online exhibit provides a profile for men and women who served in all areas of the Canadian Expeditionary Force. And as you can see, we don't have images of everyone. And we are continuing to update, and if we don't have an image right now, we might have the service personnel, their service records, or it's awaiting uploading. So this is where you can help us to fill out that story. The community response to the war was on many fronts. Key to that was the recruitment of men and women to serve. But the need was great to fund the war and outfit the men. The change to our community, with so many men leaving for the front, meant that women stepped into roles of management on the farm, in business, and in the community. They helped organize fundraisers, knitted, made linens, and bolstered the community through events and activities to keep up morale. At the end of the war, relief was immediate and celebrations ensued, with outpouring of parades for homecoming of the servicemen and women. Those who did not return were honored. Fundraising for memorials and cenotaphs honored their sacrifice. Those who returned were given commemorative pins and plaques, and we show Wellington George Knox's pin from Duncan. It's the second to the left from the second image from the left. And that was provided by the township of Collingwood. Children, youth, women, they were all mobilized for the war effort and stepped into jobs on the farm. For the boys, it was called the soldiers of the soil. And for the girls and women, farmerettes. And this was the home front of war. Mrs. Walter Buchanan dedicated her poetry book, Country Breezes from Breezy Bray, which we have online, to the memory of all those who suffered the supreme sacrifice in the terrible conflict. And I've scattered her poems throughout this talk as she reflects the thoughts and concerns of her community during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And I think of her hard work raising support for World War I hospital ships, knitting for soldiers, through her work with the Women's Institute, and after the war, raising funds for the Ravenna Cenotaph. As you can see, our community was behind the men and women at the front in so many ways. Between the wars, members of our community continued to serve, but it was again the outbreak of war with Germany that our community again came together. This time, the journey took a different route, as the Grey Regiment had merged with the Simcoe Foresters to form the Grey and Simcoe Foresters. This unit brought forward a regiment of 24 officers and 936 ranks. Again, many who volunteered also joined other units that reflected their heritage, such as Jim Hall joining the Irish Regiment, and Floyd Hugel, who joined the Black Watch. Those who served did so across all aspects of the Canadian military. The exhibit includes images, documents, and artifacts that help tell the story of their service. As the service records for World War II are still under control of the Canadian military, we cannot include their attestation papers, but families have generously provided some of that material for our exhibit. And these are just a few examples of the materials available from Floyd Hugel, who served in the Army, Alfred Abbots in the Navy, and Len McNichol in the Air Force. Just like in World War I, all ages were involved in the war effort, from recycling, home food production, war bonds, saving stamps, and rationing. The community repeated its service from the war, and these resources you'll find in our section about the home front. I love the ad, Strange Things Go Into Tanks, and that was saved by Colonel Reg Ferguson, who was involved in World War I. The public response to our exhibit has been amazing, and as we upload new material, we're really pleased to see how much connection the community responds with. When we uploaded Ted Kentner's collection, we had such a warm response, as he was so well known to the community, and it generated a lot of conversations through our social media, and we were able to connect to more people through this way. His memory lives strong in our community, and the exhibit provided a place for reflection and gathering. And this is what's made the process so rewarding, because it's really a place of connection. Peacekeeping starts with community, and it's members who continue to step up for service and calls for peace. But it also means developing an understanding and support through education and remembrance. The efforts of our community through the centuries culminated in honoring peace and the efforts of our military in unique ways, such as the dedications of cenotaphs, establishment of the Canadian Legion, and Remembrance Day events. But this community also created a military museum, which started in the early 1970s and operated for 25 years. It was begun by local residents and members of the Gray and Simcoe Foresters. It was originally located in the basement of the Clarksburg store, then at the Haynes Mill, and finally it had a home in the community hall, which is now the Marsh Street Center. Unfortunately, it did close in the mid-1990s, but just as Barbara Crosskill welcomed visitors to the Beaver Valley Military Museum in the past, we want to welcome you to our Military Heritage Online exhibit and continue the work that they did. And we hope that you'll join in the journey of growing this resource so that we can all remember, reflect, and connect to the remarkable stories as shown through the objects, the library, and archives of our military heritage. And I'd like to end here with the image of Bruce Pinch and his sisters, Nora and Edna. Ken Pinch did a wonderful job digitizing and providing so much material on his father that we're pleased to show this wonderful photo, and it really is our inspiration for this day, where family and service are shown in their faces. So that's my talk today, and at this point, you're going to be able to take time to stretch out and to enjoy the exhibits. But we're going to send another PowerPoint to the screens. It's just going to run through many of the features, individual profiles on the exhibit, because we have to share with you in the exhibits inside in small groups, because we can't all go at once due to the situation we find ourselves today. But at this point, we encourage you to perhaps get a refreshment from the Legion bar, and then I'm going to call tables, and then you can start to walk through the Legion, visit the exhibits. We have a few things from the museum collection. You can pass by the bar, and then under the canopy at the back, we actually have the digitization set up and the exhibit, and you can have a look at that process. I also have binders of hard copies, and I have one here. And they're on display inside as well. And we've started to list the individual members from the communities. So have a look at those and see who might be missing, or somebody we need to add or switch to different communities, because people did move around a bit. And on your table, there's material that you're welcome to take. And there's cards there to fill out. So if you want to connect with us, feel free to do that as well. And the last thing I just want to mention is the other thing that's on your table is a survey right now being put out by the town on our leisure studies survey. And the museum is part of our leisure studies. And if you enjoyed your visit here today and you think you want to support the museum and the library and the archives in the work that we do today, please feel free to go online and fill this out and let the community know, let the town of the Blue Mountains know the value that you place in the work that we do, because it really does help us. So at this point, we're going to set up the PowerPoint, and I'm going to start with the tables at the far end, so the Freedom Riders, which is a big bubble group, which is wonderful. If you would like to walk through the exhibit first, and come back, and then when they've gone through, I'll call on the other tables. But at this point, feel free to enjoy the bar at the Legion, and then I'm going to come back to this side, and then this side can start to go through. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.